So the Out There Halloween Megatape opens with a sort of ident for Trader Tony's tape dungeon, which is the fictional tape trader who the tape came from in the ARG sort of thing. Like, it's not really referenced very much in the movie, but the DVD came with an actual catalog of fake movies. Very fun little bits of universe building there. The Trader Tony's Tape Dungeon ident has many shots, in quick succession. We have a luchador mask up close. We've got a gun firing. We've got fangs. It looks like a werewolf because the guy's kind of hairy. I wasn't sure if it was a vampire. I
Oh,
think
I
it's a
got werewolf
werewolf.
energy too. Yeah,
We got a reaction shot of a guy just looking really shocked. We got an American flag bikini. We got a mummy.
traditional.
And then we have a different werewolf, a more traditional looking werewolf like you would see in the old Wolfman movies. Um, and there are Japanese subtitles, which I went ahead and translated. It says, "His penis has changed too."
That is
Um,
attention to detail right there.
it is.
Wow.
Then we
Didn't
have
catch that one.
a shot of a woman having sex. Um, then we have Il ritos de exorcismo ospitato de Padre Dimitri Beretti. It is an exorcism instructional tape, which I believe is the same tape featured in What Happens Next Will Scare You, another film that came out shortly after WNUF from the same director.
Is it that same the same sort of style and format as this one, or is it more of a traditional movie?
It's an anthology movie. It's about a bunch of like clickbait writers, and they have to rank the top 13 scariest viral videos. So they're having like a staff meeting and presenting these videos, and they end up releasing a curse. But
Well, they deserve it.
each of the viral videos is its own little horror short. It's pretty cool.
That's
Uh,
that's actually a pretty good idea, actually.
we've got a zombie. We've got a karate guy doing a flying sidekick. We got a man screaming and holding his head. An Easter bunny that looks a little fucked up. We got something, vines, rocks. I couldn't tell what that shot was. Um, Sexily dressed women grappling on the floor in front of a zebra print couch. We got a young boy dressed as Dracula with devil horns. We got a couple making out. Something that looks kind of like a deadite. I think that actually might be from that exorcism instructional tape.
Oh, at
Then
least good footage.
we've got a woman with her nose and upper lip torn off, which also reminds me of a kill in What Happens Next Will Scare You, that happens to the janitor, which is played by the actor that played Frank Stewart. He gets his nose torn off by a killer clown. There's a car on fire, an eyeball being spooned out of a soup cup, a beautiful woman covered with a shroud, and finally a flaming skull reminiscent of the Faces of Death cover. Uh,
Yeah, I got that vibe there too. The Faces Death one, I mean. Like it really like the whole thing was very 90s. Like very well
yeah,
done in that sense. Overall, I really liked this one a lot better than the first one. It just it felt more coherent. There was more humor to it, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it was just because it was set, at the same period I grew up in and watched a lot of television, but it was
yeah.
definitely it was more competent on just like every tier. Like
I felt
just
that
a
too.
much
Like
more smoother operation.
in the first one, I remember feeling like some of the commercials didn't really have anything going on, like they were just commercials. But every single commercial in this has some kind of joke that you can look and find.
Yeah, yeah, as opposed to, well, I need to make a commercial set in the 80s. It just felt more inspired, I guess. That's the best way I could put it. Like everything worked for the most part.
So we cut in at the end of a Power Rangers parody called Fight Force. There are three of these superheroes, one dressed in orange, one in purple, one in blue. Their helmets have wings and antenna, and from the antenna they fire laser beams which make their enemies explode.
Okay, this took me out of it, actually. This was the one part because this is whoa, way too, it looks too good for the 90s. And it was very clearly digitally animated, whereas everything back then would have been more hand drawn.
Yeah.
Um, and it was just too crisp. There was too many lines. Like those drawings were way more detailed than anything you would have seen back then. And you
Yeah.
definitely wouldn't get those black details. Everything would be more outlines.
Yeah, that
And then
happened towards the
Spider-Man.
beginning of the movie too, so it did kind of take me out of it as well. It was, for a
Yeah,
second.
like I got right
Yeah.
back in once like the Jerry Springer stuff started, but
Yeah,
I
true.
was I was real worried when I saw that. It's like
True.
no, I'm just gonna get
I
angry
know,
this
I
whole
was like
time.
I kind of like I didn't even really catch Power Rangers. It took me a little bit. I mean, I guess it's like okay, yeah, the laser beams kind of threw it off for me and it was I don't know. Yeah. It was like really campy. I don't know. It seems like the whole film what kind of was more than the first, but yeah.
Yeah,
But that
and you could
part,
tell they were
yeah.
going for that tone of like Dragon Ball taking the whole episode just to fire a laser beam or whatever. But just the style of the animation just wasn't there.
Yeah,
It was just
I
all
agree.
off.
Some
And
interesting names in the credits of Fight Force: Byron Fright, Frite, Leslie
mm,
Skur, J.T. Cullen, Gideon Fisk, and Glenn Doyle.
Kickstarter backers.
Perhaps I don't know. I was thinking so. Fright and Skur obviously are Fright and Scare. J.T.
Mhm.
Cullen. I figure Cullen could be like Edward Cullen, but that's. I mean, I thought to myself, like, would they make references to something from the 2000s in a movie that's supposed to be super 90s?
I'm guessing it's probably closer to like something like Kickstarter backers or something like that.
Gideon Fisk, isn't Fisk the name of Kingpin's little right hand man in Spider Man?
Nah, no, that's Kingpin. Kingpin is Fisk.
Oh, okay.
Wilson Fisk.
What's his sidekick's name?
He's got a bunch of sidekicks. Which one are you referring to?
Well, there was the one that was all fucked up looking that was always near him in Spider Man in the cartoon in the 90s.
Oh, okay. So as the Kingpin, he has many, many minions, and most of them are fucked up because that's superhero comics.
Sure,
Smythe was the one with like the
that's what I'm
weird
thinking.
like shoulders who
Yeah,
built the robots for him.
yeah,
That was
Smythe.
Alistair Smythe, and yeah.
And then Glenn Doyle, I think, is Glenn Danzig and something Doyle from the Misfits. I don't remember all their names.
Arthur Conan Doyle from the Misfits.
Let me look that up now.
I don't know. I only think Sherlock Holmes when I hear that name.
Doyle Wolfgang von Frankenstein is the name of a
Holy
member of
shit,
the
that's a dude.
Misfits. Yeah.
Okay. Well, my hats off to you then. Also, that guy. That's a hell of a name.
So then we cut to our first commercial break. We have an ad for Dr. Pizza. You'll be the head surgeon slicing up your own meal. Tell your mom to make an appointment in your grocer's freezer. Perfect for single parent households. Um,
Yeah, this guy was dead on. Like, as much as the Power Rangers took me out of it, this one brought me right back in. Like, very oh, what's the dude from the Super Mario Brothers? Like the big that guy energy.
Captain Lou Albano.
That's the guy. Like, hey kids,
So
tell
perfect
your
for
mom
single
to eat my
parent
pizza.
households. Obviously, a little bit dark, but the tell your mom to make an appointment at your grocer's freezer, I think, is the really funny part of this because I can imagine a little kid like demanding his mom make an appointment for the pizza. He's a doctor, damn it. And
I
then
concur.
we get another ad for Cutie Cutes by Toulon, being, of course, Andre Toulon of the Puppet Master series. They might look like regular stuffed animals, but they're not. They're cutie cutes.
For
Um,
Beanie Babies, obviously.
right. They all have S names. We got Spike, Squeaky, Sprinkles, and Steven are the names of these stuffed animals, which I couldn't really tell what they were exactly. I think one of them's a triceratops, one of them's a bunny, and then I think the other two are lambs. It's kind of hard to tell in the
Yeah.
VHS quality.
You think they're actually just Beanie Babies?
They looked a little too big to be actual Beanie Babies, and they kind of had, I don't know, they were puffy in a way that suggests they're full of stuffing as opposed to beads. But
Yeah, Beanie Babies, like trademark, fill it half full so it stands up.
right, so then we start the pre-show sort of context setter of the Ivy Sparks show. Ivy Sparks, the host of the show, is dressed as Cleopatra. She's got a big, bald, bearded skeleton in the crowd. I think that was the same guy that was Dracula in WNUF Halloween Special. I'm not
Hmm.
sure about that. I didn't look it up, but he just has the same kind of look to him.
Well, I mean, the key point here is that she is the character, the producer from the first movie, right?
No, she like looks up to her. Veronica Stanzi
Uh,
from the first movie. She's in one of the commercials where she's in a bubble bath. She got real famous.
I assumed that was the same character. Okay, because and she had like a fall from grace.
No,
Well, I guess
yeah,
she technically does, but even further fall from grace later. Okay.
yeah, because she asks Lewis and Claire Berger's niece, "Have you met Veronica Stanzi?" And she's just like, "No." Like, what the fuck? The episode is titled "Alien Vamps and Haunted Tramps." I would watch that
Also,
show.
just Jerry Springer. I mean, that's the sort of shit that he had for episode titles.
So she asks a member of her audience if they believe that vampires exist, and he responds, "Only during tax season," which gets a big pop from the crowd. And she introduces her security guard, whose name is Brick, and he's dressed as a bundle of grapes for Halloween. He's got purple balloons all over him. So that sets the stage for the beginning of the movie, but not before we go to another commercial break. We begin with CF Rollers by Yuzna. Brian Yuzna, a famous director and producer responsible for movies like he did Reanimator. The brand name CF Rollers could be a reference to a movie he produced called Crying Freeman, which was directed by Christoph Gans, who did the Silent Hill movies. So then after that, we get our first Phil's Carpet Warehouse commercial. And it's funny because I remember saying in the last one, the Phil's Carpet Warehouse was one of those commercials that didn't really seem like it had a joke other than lol corny commercial. It felt to me like a real carpeting or even like a mattress commercial would have a similar vibe. And the reason is because, both industries allegedly are fronts for money laundering, which is a topic that will be explored in this movie.
Hmm. And to be fair, I mean, that was largely the issue with that first movie, is it did feel like they were leaning too hard on accuracy at the expense of entertainment.
Yeah.
Whereas I do feel like there's just a much nicer balance of that here. So they
And
learned.
maybe it's also because you can get away with making people think your first movie is real. Can't really do it with the
Uh-huh.
sequel. So Phil is having his cosmic clearance sale. The ad is full of puns about space, savings that are out of this world, etc., etc. They have 3 locations now. The Chestertown location is at 976 Jeffries Pike, possibly a reference to 976 Evil, a movie that I have not seen.
So
Then we
essentially Christopher Pike.
Christopher Pike. Who's that?
The he was an author. Didn't he do Fear Street?
R.L. Stein did Fear Street, as far as I know.
Yeah, what did Christopher Pike do? But he was another one of those like pseudo young adult, like trashy horror.
Ah, okay, I'll have to look that up. Our next commercial is 1-800-1-PLANET, Call now for a free pamphlet printed on recycled paper. They're trying to get everyone to do their part to save the environment. There's some pretty strong messaging in some of these commercials in both movies.
That again was the style of the time, that the 90s was when we as a culture first started getting in the, reduce, reuse, recycle, like
Yeah,
the
there was definitely a
fault
big
of the
push.
people.
Our next ad is Rude Awakening, a fragrance for men, women, and everyone sick of labels. I also really like the perfume ads and makeup ads in these because they have such pretentious sounding names. Next, we have The Giggle Zone. Every weekday from 5 to 7, it's a comedy block on WNUF. We have 4 shows listed: Hold Your Horses, Cat's Pajamas, Table for 3, and Kickin' It with Lefty. I don't think I would watch any of those shows. A rare miss, in my opinion.
Oh, I completely believe they existed though. Like again, that was the style of the time. Oh, this just occurred to me. Have you seen the Netflix show Smash? It
No.
gave off a lot of the same vibes as this. Very similar found footage. It was a sort of anthology. And instead of like commercials and news footage, it was a Saturday morning kids block and
Uh,
just several episodes of that as they evolve and like the story of the two hosts, their interactions, and I think one eventually kills the other or something. It's on
in-
Netflix.
interesting.
Very good companion piece if you haven't seen it.
So then we come back to the Ivy Niles show. Wait, Ivy Sparks. Stefan. We are introduced to our vampire Stefan, whose name is actually Steven.
I feel
Um,
bad for this guy so much.
yeah, he's quite a relatable figure to myself and probably many of our fans. He's 35, he's a Leo, and he's the night manager at a gas station. He says it fits his dark lifestyle.
Dark lifestyle.
He's a singer for the band Immortal Dagger, which, if you are lucky enough to get a hold of the upcoming Blu ray release of this movie, it will come with a Forever Dagger album.
Really? I am
Yeah.
intrigued.
The one shown in the movie is called Forever Sucks. Stefan had dental surgery to get fangs. He uses those fangs to feed on the blood of willing participants. He said he's never fed on an unwilling victim, but it could happen. Ivy goes to the crowd for questions, and one of them says, "Vampires aren't supposed to have reflections. Is that why you look so dumb?" And this
Just what the
prompts
fuck, man.
this prompts our first "Be Nice" of the movie. Ivy says her catchphrase, "Be nice," and the crowd parrots it. So then Ivy brings out a surprise guest to speak to Stefan, and it's his cousin Ted, who wants him to give up the goth shit and be normal. And he says it's time to give him a mainstream makeover.
So Jerry Springer, also such a dick.
Yeah. He says, Ivy, he sleeps in a trunk. And then Stefan says, "It's a coffin." And he says, "I've been to funerals. I've seen coffins. You sleep in a trunk." And then after they take Stefan off stage to get his makeover, we get our interlude thingy. I don't know what you even call these, but we get our little segment where the producer asks, "Has violent media turned your child into a delinquent? Is it time to confront him on live TV? Call 1-800-CALL-IVY."
Commercial bumper
Commercial bumper,
is I
yeah.
think the term. Yeah.
Then we cut to the break. We have an ad for the super duper water shooter from Boomstick.
Yeah.
Aqua Arsenal coming soon. It has a catchy jingle which juxtaposes the innocence of childhood against the harsh reality of our gun culture in America. One of the lines is, "Hey man, this gun is no joke when you're on the other end and you're gonna get soaked." The call to action is get it before it gets you.
Yeah. Bangers across the board.
Then we get an ad for The Bogies, a movie about mini monsters at a miniature golf course.
Which I
Uh,
would watch the hell out of. That looked great.
It did, and then there was a concessions girl who said, "Do you think they want pizza?" My guess is yes, they want pizza. So then we have an ad for jeans with a very catchy jingle. Get 'em in denim. All jeans are 50% off right now at Randall's. Moms and teens and everyone in between. Everybody loves jeans. They're changing the world 2 legs at a time. Next is a missing child PSA from the National Organization Preventing Exploitation, or NOPE. And then finally, we have an Out There ad. Out There, of course, being a sort of paranormal variety show, I guess you'd call it. There's a very specific show that they were parodying, but I can't remember what it was called. Same thing with Ivy Sparks. She's supposed to be like Ricky Lake, I think.
Yeah, no, I can see that. That's definitely a better comparison than Jerry Springer. It's just I never really watched any of them, so that's the one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
But I definitely remember Ricky Lake.
So Out There, I guess a similar show would be something like Unsolved Mysteries, maybe, or not
To a
even really.
degree, yeah. Though that was mostly recorded segments. If
Yeah.
this was a show that had like live interviews and stuff,
Well, it's because
I
this
would have
was
loved
a
to see it, but I don't remember it specifically.
yeah. The Halloween episode was a live broadcast, but I think that from the commercials, it seems like the show itself would have been pre-recorded segments. But they're going to have a Nazi werewolf on the show, who claims that that he's a werewolf, and that when the full moon comes above, he turns into a wolf. The tagline for this one is "Sieg Howl," which I thought was funny. They also have a segment about a blind sculptor who can see the future, and they promise updates on the Devil Cat of Davenport, Iowa, a case of demonic possession.
Which I'm pretty sure that's a real thing. But it's been a while since I've done my own research on these subjects.
We find out that the show's host is named Tate Dawson, the name Tate perhaps being a reference to Sharon Tate, the victim in the Charles Manson murders.
Mhm. Also, Kate Dawson is, I'm pretty sure, a real person.
So then we come back from the break, and we have a story about Lewis and Claire Berger and her niece, named Zoe Martin, who claims that they were abducted by aliens. Of course, we as the audience know that they were murdered by a cult because we saw the previous movie, and I thought to myself, why wouldn't people in the universe know what happened at the end of that broadcast? And it occurred to me that the whole gimmick of the first movie was that the tape had never been released. It was this like secret thing. Like it was known about that this thing happened, but the footage had never been released. So I guess most people, unless they saw it live, wouldn't know what happened during that broadcast.
If this was the 80s, like, would there have been a lot of like home record or VHS at that point, or did that come later?
I looked that up too. Yes, I think VHS and VCRs became very common in like 1983, something like that. So they would have
Okay,
been
so
around.
so there is a possibility that someone was recording that like to watch later or whatever, and
Yeah, and obviously at least one person did, but not enough
and
for it
it's
to
not
be
like,
common knowledge.
yeah, national news was a lot different animal back then, that's for sure.
So we get into this segment explaining the history of Lewis and Claire Berger and all the things that they do, or did, I guess. And we get the titles of some of their books. My Massachusetts Magazine published an issue about them called Explorers of the Unknown. Their books include Voices of Damnation, New Wave Witchcraft, Restless Spirits, which is about a haunted mattress store, Psychic Whiskers, which of course is about their psychic cat Shadow, Watch for the Squatch, Irish Goodbyes, about the legend of the Banshee, Rusty Moon, the junkyard werewolf of Flint, Michigan.
Which again feels like a real thing.
That last one was adapted into the movie Mooniac starring Reed Richmond. Their last book, Amish Frankenstein, was pulled for slander after they accused people of grave robbing. And then they also had a book called Pen Pals from Beyond. So the mystery of their disappearance launched the career of Veronica Stanzi, the producer from WNUF, who became a talk show host and a like, I don't know if I mean, she was in a commercial, obviously, at the very least, so she has some kind of career in acting. But Zoe, their niece, wrote a book about the disappearance called Family Scarelooms, in which she claims that they were taken to another dimension to help advance an alien civilization. 3 years ago, she began receiving psychic transmissions from beyond the stars. The little caption underneath her on the show says, author and metaphysical researcher, in quotation marks. Even,
dick move.
Yeah, dick move. Even the show that, the show that they're on doesn't believe that what she does is a real thing.
I doubt Ricky Lake ever used quotation marks.
So after this explanation of her theories and her history, Ivy announces that they have a surprise guest. Well, first she asks, what would you say to people who claim that you are using this tragedy to profit off of the loss of your loved ones? And she says, I wouldn't even entertain a conversation with scum like that. So Ivy announces a surprise guest that it comes out dressed as the Grim Reaper and says something like, you need death to sell your books, so I thought I'd come and greet you myself, or something like that. And Zoe's like, who is that? And straight-faced Ivy just says, that's Death. He's coming for you.
Right.
And then she says, nah, I'm just kidding. Let's see who it is. And it's noted skeptic and talk show radio host Perry Trenchard. He has a show on talk radio called You're Lying. According to him, and according to us, the audience, the Burgers were murdered. Zoe claims that violence in the broadcast, the scenes that we saw, are false memories implanted into our brains by Martians. To which Perry replies, look, lady, I'm not from Mars. I'm from America. And the crowd goes wild.
As
Maybe it's time you strap on your jetpack and get out of here. Which prompts our second be nice of the movie. Perry then says that the Burgers were con artists, and so is Zoe. So she strangles him. Just lunges at him. The crowd chants, be nice, be nice, be nice.
Nice, be nice.
Eventually, Brick comes out and splits them up. And we go to our second commercial bumper. Are you extremely overweight and dating someone twice your age? We want to hear about it. 1-800-CALL-IVY. So then we cut to the next commercial break. We have an ad for Jarvis Pest Control, run by a man named Matthew Jason Jarvis. Their number is 1-800-BUG-OFF with 3 Fs. One of their locations is in a place called Snowminton, which I don't know if that's specifically a reference to anything, but it's just kind of funny to me.
It is a fun word to say. Snowminton.
It might be a reference to Jack Frost. I don't know. The slasher movie, Jack Frost.
As opposed to the spin-off to Santa Claus Jack Frost.
Yeah, you don't want to get those confused. The guy says, don't let them bug you. Let us bug them. And then he nods and smiles creepily at the camera.
Right? That's an air of confidence.
So then we have an ad for a movie that's going to be on TV very soon. Blood Gavel 3, The Final Verdict. Judge Grimm is back. I really like this next ad for King's Trucking School because they have they show 3 students of King's Trucking School. We have Bill, father of 7 / trucker, and he says, getting on the road was the smartest decision I ever made, which I think is obvious because you're a father of 7.
Yeah. Kind of, yeah.
Connie, mother / trucker, she says, I'm the queen of the highway in my rig, which is not a great attitude to have if you're going to be responsible for piloting a giant truck.
Also, she's not a mother / trucker. She's a mother trucker.
And Duncan, who's a trucker / Sagittarius, and he says, I've gotten to see all of America. And he just has the deadest look on his face. He has nothing left in life. He's on the brink, you can tell.
I'm pretty sure he's a serial killer. I don't know. That might just be me, but
Could
real
be.
big.
I guess that's a good
I've
reason to
been,
see all of America.
yeah. Plus, the Sagittarius is a member of the Zodiac, also the Hunter. So,
Ah,
yeah, I'm almost positive he's supposed to be a serial killer
good
due
call.
to my giant board of connected dots.
So then we find out their slogan is if you've got the drive, we'll get you the skills. We go to the next one, Miss Zarabeth the Psychic. And I love the questions they ask. Should we mortgage the house to invest? Oh, baby, absolutely. Am I adopted? You are not going to like the answer to this. Do you know where I left my keys? It's your lucky day. I don't know. Not much to talk about here. Just very sharp humor. Very, I don't know.
Also, just again of the time, like you hit 2 a.m. on 2 a.m. on the Sci-Fi Channel, and you're gonna get one of these commercials.
Yeah.
That was almost a guarantee back then.
Then we have another one that's not really all that funny. It's quite a serious ad for AIDS testing. It just says "Get tested, campaign for an AIDS-free future." That's all the commercials for that one. So we go back to Ivy Sparks, and she's going to tell us a lesbian ghost story. The segment is called Booty Call. The narrator tells us that some of those who died at Gettysburg still roam the land, searching for spiritual release.
Oh, really?
We're told the story of Heidi May and Joe Mark, who moved to Gettysburg in 1992. He was a trucker. Perhaps he learned from King's Trucking School. So she was alone a
He
lot.
is king.
She bought a spirit board at a rummage sale in late 1993, and through it she befriended the ghost of the widow Margaret Ann Baker, who committed suicide in 1863 after her husband died in battle. Um, War is bad, in case you didn't know.
I've heard.
Joe Mark is upset at first when he finds out. She tells him that she's been cheating on him, and he first he goes, was it this guy? Was it this guy? She's like, no, it was a woman, and she's dead. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Which brings us our fourth be nice of the movie. After which Brick, the security guard, brings out a Ouija board so that Joe Mark can talk to the spirit of Margaret Ann himself. He's skeptical of it at first, and he asks, has my wife gone cuckoo? And the planchette shoots right up to no at extreme speed.
Right. Powerful ghost.
Very powerful ghost. And he's like, are you moving it? And she's like, I swear I'm not moving it. She takes her hand off the thing. And Ivy asks, Margaret Ann, what do you want from Joe Mark and Heidi May? And the board spells out menage a trois, which Joe Mark doesn't get because he doesn't speak French. But when they explain to him that it means threesome, he gets this giant fucking ridiculous grin. Very impressive facial acting from this actor who played Joe Mark.
I like how he pronounced it too. I can't quite remember how, but it was so
Manage Troy.
like authentic. Yeah, something like that. Manage Troy? Like, yeah, I believe that guy has is a trucker in the 90s before the internet.
And then we get it. We're told we're cutting to commercial. We get the commercial bumper. Are you pregnant with the child of a relative? We want to host your baby shower. 1-800 call Ivy. On to our next commercial break. We start off with Sterling Life Insurance. 1-800-333-LIFE. I thought this commercial was hilarious because it started with a guy falling off a roof. He just kind of ragdolls. That was really the only thing about it that was funny. But
Kind of dark.
we then have an ad for Mayak Bulgarian milk chocolate with nuts. It's got a little cartoon goblin who's, I don't know, nuts about the chocolate. Next up is Precious Pumpkin Cat Food from Michael's Meow Meals. We're told this isn't a scaredy cat and he's willing to try anything, and that's why he gets the best. Then we have The Lone Ranger, spelled Loan. P.O. Box 791 Perfection, Nevada 32165. Perfection, Nevada, I believe, is the town from Tremors.
Yeah, it's either that or the town from that Stephen King series. Possibly both. The Stephen King series where it's like there's one book set in one town, another book set in another town, with the same events, and it's like a parallel universe. Totally blanking on the title, but let's just go with Tremors.
I don't know enough about Stephen King. The thing, like, Stephen King had an extensive library of best selling books when I was a kid, and he's just kept making them. There's no way I can keep up with that. But
Hell yeah, he did.
our next ad is for Primal Fruit Juice. It'll quench your inner squatch and leave no trace of your previous thirst. It's the missing drink in your fridge. I would absolutely drink Primal Fruit Juice. Anything to be more squatch-like. Although I guess this would make me less squatch-like. It says it'll quench your inner squatch. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I think that was the intention, is that you're all feral until you drink the squash drink.
Yeah.
This also gave me some vibes from like Bigfoot Pizza and like all the other like monster-based ads directed to children for foods. It was Perfection, Nevada, and Tremors, by the way.
Next, we get an anti-drug ad, and we have a teenager who says, "Smoking pot's no big deal. We're just getting high. It's not like we're gonna die. Right, guys?" And then we zoom out, and he's surrounded by skeletons. Paid for by the Committee to End Drug Abuse. And then that was our final ad for that break, so we're going back to Ivy Sparks. We come back and we get Stefan's results. They bring him out on stage. He's got this stupid blonde bowl cut wig on, and he's got like a, I don't know, like a purple polo or something. He looks ridiculous. And he looks at the camera and he says, "Please stop filming me." And then we get our credits. Everyone's dancing. There's a song called Cool Cat Creepy Crawl, which is some kind of horrible parody of the Monster Mash. The voiceover tells us that coming up next is Small Talk, the only talk show hosted by a dwarf. Join host Shorty Davis as he tackles the big issue of teen pregnancy.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
It was
but
a simpler time.
yeah, exactly. It's like that's the kind of show that probably would have been on the air in the 90s. I went through frame by frame and got all the names from the credits. Some of the ones that are interesting to me: Angela Boggs, Mary Hammer, perhaps reference to Hammer Studios, Tom Ritter, similar to the guy from Three's Company. John
Sure.
Ritter.
I never watched Three's Company.
John Ritter,
Too busy
yeah.
reading Stephen King books.
Well, he was in It also in the miniseries from the 90s.
Excellent comeback.
Gertrude Bacchus, Pericles Salisbury. I don't think these are references. They're just funny names.
They are
Artie,
indeed funny names.
Artie
Possibly other
Farkas.
backers.
Mark Savino, perhaps Tom Savini inspired. I don't know. Rod Bonk, Muffy Zerborg, Moose Thompson, Paddy Jonker, and Dorchester Faircloth. And that's the end of the Ivy Sparks show. We then cut to a little half segment of the Lucky Lotto numbers. Pick 3 is 976. Pick 4 is 3845, which spells out evil, of course. So this is definitely a reference to 976 evil.
Yeah, I didn't even catch that. Wow. Well done.
We get a news update where we get to check in on our old pals Deborah Merritt and what's the other guy's name? Anyway, the other guy. She says, "I'm Deborah Merritt," and he says, "And I'm the devil." And there's like an awkward pause. And then we get our first story. Phil Wynorski of Phil's Carpet Warehouse, whose name We know that he was Phil. We now know that he's Wynorski, which is a reference to
Hmm.
Jim Wynorski, who directed Chopping Mall, among many other horror and adult titles. Phil has been
Classic.
charged with 6 counts of money laundering, but denies any wrongdoing. His trial is set for this spring. We then get more Halloween safety tips with Officer Donald
One
Bookwalter.
one moment. Didn't we get a commercial for his business earlier?
We did. But I think there's a
Um.
time jump between the Ivy Sparks show and the Out There episode because
Oh, very
obviously,
much, very much. I just kind of enjoyed that little bit of I guess storytelling there of, the insidious plot behind the earlier commercial.
yeah. And I mean that he's a recurring character. He might be the only recurring commercial. Uh,
Hmm.
Maybe not, but yeah, because the Phil's Carpet Warehouse commercials in the first one, and then the second one they're here again, but they're a lot funnier. So yeah, Halloween safety tips with Officer Donald Bookwalter. He says that 2 trick-or-treaters were run over last year on the spot where he's standing, and he says, "Don't go and get smashed like those 2 little pumpkins." Nobody does dark humor quite like these guys. And then we're told that Out There will be filming in town. The male anchor says, "I guess my invitation to host got lost in the mail." To which Deborah retorts that Ivy Sparks is hosting the show. We find out that her show got canceled, and the guy says maybe she'll give E.T. a paternity test. To which Deborah replies, "Be nice," for the 5th time in the movie.
As he should.
So then we get right into the beginning of Out There, the show we all came to see. Tate Dawson welcomes his new co-host, Ivy Sparks, and we are given an overview of what we're going to see tonight. And then we cut to a commercial break. We get an ad for Slim Fryer's Chicken, boneless chicken kids meal. It comes with a Sinister Sipper Halloween cup, which I guess is like the pails you get at McDonald's.
Oh yeah. I wish they still did these. They were kind of great.
Yeah, their tagline is "Your hunger just flew the coop." And for the Halloween season, they throw in a little Bon Appetit with a skeleton. Oh yeah, the skeleton's like boneless chicken. I guess that's got to be a really horrifying concept for a skeleton. Then we get an ad for Achilles, which I think is a shoe brand or something. Their tagline is "Outrun your dreams."
Yeah, it's a play on Nike because
Uh,
Greek mythologies.
oh right,
Also
see
chess.
that's the thing. I didn't know that until like last year. I'd never heard of the goddess Nike.
Dude, they were based down the street. Also, Nike's pretty cool. Like just the story, but again, that's off topic at the moment.
We get our first political ad of the show. It's a Bob Dandridge for Senate campaign ad, full of vampire puns. He talks about illegals crossing the border and bloated IRS funds and whatnot. And at the very end, on the fine print down at the corner of the screen, you can just barely make out Jerry Ragsdale, treasurer,
Yeah,
which
that's what I
is
thought. Like there's that ongoing money laundering story just going throughout this whole commercial block segment.
William Ragsdale is the actor who played Charlie Brewster in Fright Night.
Again, vampires.
Then next we get an ad for R.B. Harker's theme park. Forget hay rides, take a plunge on the Possessor Mega Coaster. See, this is what got me thinking because Possessor is a movie that came out like 4 years ago or something.
But also not Scary Farm.
Hmm?
Not Scary Farm. Like, the amusement park Knott's Berry Farm, they do a Halloween makeover of the park for October.
Oh yeah,
It's
well yeah, and then I
good
think
time. Good.
R.B. Harker. I don't know about the R.B. part, but Harker I guess would be like Mina Harker from Dracula.
That is accurate.
Plus new haunted attractions, Maniac Manor and Mervo's Funhouse. And then we get a mafia themed ad for 1-800 Dial Any, which is a sort of like 1-800 Call Collect or Call ATT was one of them, but there was others. There's all kinds of collect call hotlines back in the day, which are mostly obsolete now because cell phones don't have long distance charges.
Hmm.
He says, "My friends call me the Mangler because I always make them pay." That is definitely a reference to the movie The Mangler, starring the guy from Nightmare on Elm Street, Robert Englund. So after that, we come
Yep.
back to the show. We're in front of a Halloween barn dance, the Halloween Hootenanny at High Pike Farm, which is a place that we got an ad for in the last movie. We're told that exactly 100 years ago, this is where River Hill encountered its first UFO. A UFO crashed, and as the villagers approached it, the wreckage and the dead alien just disintegrated. They couldn't find it anywhere. The sheriff's department ruled it as a hoax. And we're shown a newspaper clipping from 1886 or whatever, or 1896.
100 years ago to this very day.
We get an interview with Olivia Walsh, River Hill's unofficial UFO historian, who says that the crash 100 years ago led to a chain reaction where every 10 years there's an increase in UFO activity in the area. She says that the cycle is related to the alignment of the planets. We get an interview then with Eunice Latshaw, the owner of High Pike Farm. She's dressed up as like a Valkyrie or something, or one of those European women. She says, "I loved your show.
Women.
I loved your show. It was such a shame when they canceled it." And Ivy doesn't like that very much.
Well, no, because she's bitter.
Yeah, she doesn't want to think about it. Eunice Latshaw explains that she has found crop circles on her land, one of which is definitely just a vagina. And we also find out that her pumpkins that she grew have been tampered with, and we get photos of those, and they've clearly been probed. That's how Ivy puts it. And then before they cut from the segment, Eunice asks Ivy for a favor. She says, "Would you say it?" And Ivy's like, "Say it?" She knows what she's talking about, but she doesn't want to give in. And Eunice goes, "Be nice." And that's number 6 for the movie. Ivy hates this, and she immediately cuts to the next segment. Before we cut to commercial this time, we get our first of several Reed Richmond trivia segments.
This guy's awesome.
He says, "You may recognize me from movies like The Ghost in the Velvet Pajamas or Freaky Fax Machine," the tagline of which is "Unspeakable Horror, one page at a time." He says, "Did you know that famed novelist H.G. Wells named the villains of The Time Machine after his childhood neighbors, the Morlocks, who routinely stole his family's morning paper? That's a true fact."
Tell me that you don't aspire to be this guy when you grow up.
Yeah, he's pretty great. So then during our next break, we get our first anti-Dandridge campaign ad of the movie. We're told that he raised taxes 9 times while slashing benefits for teachers and firefighters.
That guy's rad.
We are not told who paid for this ad. There's usually something at the bottom said like paid for by, not in this case. And then we have an ad for Harold's Premium Toilet Tissue, Make Discomfort Ancient History. There's a mummy on the toilet, and he reaches for the toilet paper, and he's all out. He's holding a magazine called Better Tombs and Gardens, of course a parody of Better Homes and Gardens. Then we get an ad for the Coast Patrol, a parody of Baywatch. A message in a bottle washes ashore, and there's some mystery about who sent it and whatnot. Our next ad is for USA Connected, which is just a parody of America Online. Their phone number is 1-800-WEBLINE. We then get an ad for Zygot, your secret weapon against thirst. An intruder has found their way into the flavor reserves of this top secret company, and over the PA they urge them, "Do not confront him, he'll be too powerful."
That still makes me giggle. That was great.
And then we get an ad for Corbin's toothpaste with Dracula. Little text on the screen says, "It's oral care you can count on."
Ooh. Again, Richard Corbin. And is this the same dentist from the first show?
No, this is just for toothpaste. The dentist from the first movie is in this movie later, but
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I remember there being a Corbin reference in the first movie too. I couldn't quite remember what it was.
So then we come back to the show. We got our segment about McCleary Air Force Base. We find out that McCleary Air Force Base is 4 miles from where Tate is standing. It opened in the spring of 1987. Classified operations took place there. Conspiracy theorists believe it's a state-sanctioned study of alien technology, nicknamed the Bromley Project after a chat room user who claimed to work there. Other screen names are shown on screen. One is KindBud420, one is Lord Blasto, one is Mikey28008, which of course is how you spell boobs on a calculator.
Yep.
For some reason, that name is listed twice in the chat, the user list.
I mean, I
We've
got
got
2 boobs.
Earthling69, Moon Goon, Galaxy Pilot Fan, and then we get one called Al the Robot. And then we have a segment about Frank Stewart and his disappearance and how that all connects to the evening's events. So that dentist you were talking about, Dr. Stanley Allen, saw alien lights in his office. He said bright pink balls were flying at my head. If you look at them, they're just little cotton balls, probably held up by wires or something. He went to the cops, but the cops thought he was crazy, so he reached out to WNUF's news team, and they put him in contact with Frank Stewart, who had a history of doing little offbeat sort of paranormal investigation stuff. And as we're talking about Frank Stewart, we get little snippets of stuff that he's been in, such as the WNUF Christmas special from 1986 or whatever, 1985, whenever it was. We get the 14th annual staring contest where Frank is just staring at the camera.
That was fucking weird.
Finally, local dentist brushes with UFO, which is the story at hand. But, cute little headline, really kind of treating it as a joke. But after the broadcast, WNUF was flooded with calls about similar UFO incidents. Frank found it strange that so many unrelated people had similar stories, so he asked to make a special about these stories for Halloween. And he was given the green light. He booked Lewis and Claire Berger to be on the show to talk about UFOs. We get a little caption under their name, under them on screen. Dr. Lewis Berger recounts the haunting of the Cleveland mattress store. And then we get another one. Claire and Lewis Berger discuss the headless surfer of Honolulu.
Again, both fascinating possibilities.
In early October, the station manager, Wally Cohen, was confronted by Men in Black. They said, delete your footage, do not go through with this, or there will be consequences. Frank still wanted to go ahead with the special, but then someone broke in and stole hundreds of tapes from the station, and I tried, but I could not read any of the labels on those tapes. So yeah, that's the whole Frank Stewart story. He wanted to do the UFO special, but they stole the tapes, so then they just reworked it into the Halloween special about the Weber house that we got in the previous movie.
Mm-hmm.
So then we're about to go back to commercial. We get our next Reed Richmond segment. He says, "You may recognize me from movies like Dracula's Island and The Chiropractor Massacre. Did you know that director Richard Jeffries' sci-fi classic Space Farmer was originally titled Tractor Beam? That's a true fact." And see, this one I think is made up. I don't think there's actually a movie called Space Farmer, but
I would be very shocked if there was. Yes.
So on our next commercial break, we get another Phil's Carpet Warehouse ad. This one is jail themed because he's facing charges.
Right.
He says, "Prices this low should be criminal, but they're not, I promise. No payments till spring," which of course is when we're told his trial is set. "Get an additional 15% off when you sign the petition to postpone Phil's trial." Then next we have a Rasso's Pizza zombie ad. "Dinner won't cost you an arm and a leg. It's a no-brainer."
Nice.
And then we get the Veronica Stanzi ad for Sooner or Lather bubble bath. And she just talks about wanting to come home and relax and all that, and treat yourself, that kind of thing. And then we get an ad for Confirm or Deny with Donna Miles, who was one of the reporters from the previous movie. She's moved up in life and she's now an anchor of her own show.
Good for her.
She tells us about a hot dog vendor who was accused of murdering 17 college girls, and he's just got the goofiest looking look on his face. Like they keep showing this picture of him, and I don't know how to describe it, but he looks like he just pissed his pants and he's happy about it. And then we're told the other segment of that episode will be about Y2K and how it's only 4 years away and everyone should be prepared for it. Which I made a tag on Letterboxd to keep track of movies that are about like Y2K or 2012 or any of those famous apocalypses that never came. And I'm like, does this really count? Like, it's half of an ad that just kind of mentions Y2K. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to that Y2K movie that all those hipsters are making. So we come back to the show. We're still talking about the Frank Stewart Halloween special thing. The station manager believes that Frank was murdered and that the murderer was someone associated with the men in black that confronted him. We're asked, could Frank Stewart have been abducted by aliens, like Zoe suggested earlier? What is interesting is that it's been 9 years since that day that Frank disappeared, which is almost a decade, similar to the cosmic cycle mentioned by Olivia Walsh, that, you know, every 10 years UFO activity picks up. So I guess that's kind of the connection of like maybe he was abducted by aliens. We're told that recently UFO sightings have been up in the area. We get headlines: unusual footprints found near playground, cattle
Right.
mutilation mystery.
That all seems totally legit.
We get an illustration of one of the aliens by Sylvester Uncas. We meet pizza delivery driver Mark Bond, who heard snarling coming from the bushes, and he said he looked over and he saw a creature with a bulging head and glowing eyes, and he just dropped the order and ran. But his boss didn't believe the story. He got fired, and they made him pay for the pizza and the
Again,
breadsticks.
it seems pretty justifiable from a boss's perspective, though. I mean,
Yeah, fair enough. But he says that the alien had a voracious appetite. He says, I never seen anything devour a pizza like that in my life.
this dude had real big Shaggy from Scooby Doo energy. So
Yeah,
I'm completely on the boss's side here.
the way he ran, the like his physical acting was so over the top.
Exactly. That only brought out more of the Shaggy. Yoinks!
We get a clip from videographer Todd Lindenmuth, who was recording a wedding where you can see an alien kind of step out from behind the little stage that they're on. And guests of the wedding ran out and tried to find the creature, but all they found were footsteps that just suddenly ended, as if maybe whatever left them had been beamed up onto a UFO. After that story, we cut back to Tate Dawson, who begins to transition to the next topic when there's this loud screeching noise and distortion, and it's a sort of signal intrusion. Their broadcast has been interfered with, and they cut to break. We get a Reed Richmond segment. You may know him from movies like 1-900 Frankenstein, or the soon-to-be released Where Unicorns 2, Blood Rainbow. Did you know that best-selling author Caesar McLeod wrote the seductive sci-fi novel The Zormalon Affair in an attempt to win back his estranged wife? His quest for love was fruitless, but the book went on to sell millions. That's a true fact.
Okay, so that one I'm guessing is probably fake, but now I have to look it up because, god damn it.
So during our break, we get an ad for Main Man, which is a new hair growth product, sort of like Keeps or what's Rogaine. Rogaine is more
Uh,
time appropriate.
shit. It starts with an R, but I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
But to finish the previous thought, I'm pretty sure it's fake. Google brings up nothing.
So in the
So
commercial, we see the founder and president of Main Man, a man named Dick Keach. Dick Keach is clearly wearing a wig. His
yes,
hair does not match the color of his beard.
but also that I'm both a client and the president. That was a thing. That was such a thing for
The,
the company whose name we are forgetting.
then we go on to an ad for Zarin's potato chips. Under the full moon, they transform into barbecue ranch waffle chips. They are dastardly delicious.
The
I would,
mechanics of that are astounding.
yeah, I would like to try these Zarin's potato chips. We then get an ad for La Golosa, an instructional video for the hot new dance of the decade. Obviously, this is a parody of the Macarena. Golosa
Macarena.
Golosa is Spanish for greedy.
That seems reasonable.
Next, we get an ad for Congresswoman Kirsten Rice. She's running for Senate against Bob Dandridge. She says she grew up in River Hill. She has a dog named Louie, which is not relevant to your political aspirations, but very effective marketing.
It's true. People like dogs.
She tells us about, she says, why should I be senator? And she says, well, have you seen the last guy? He's cut education, he refuses to raise minimum wage, and he's even coming after Medicare. And the dog kind of goes, hmm?
Ooh.
At the end of her ad, we find out that her treasurer is Neil Geffen, which I just assume is the name of somebody who was in a vampire movie, perhaps an Anne Rice-based vampire movie, but I don't know.
Okay, so he wasn't a part of our previous treasure. Why are they listing the treasurers in these ads? Is
I
that a thing?
assume I assume that that's your running mate as a senator. You know how like presidents have their vice presidents that they run with, but I don't know.
I don't think so. Like I was thinking it was just a part of the previous like crime scandal subplot that was going on behind the scenes, but I don't know. It's probably stretching. It's just weird that it's there, niggling.
So we come back to the show and we get our first cult segment. We're introduced to the Temple of Divine Purity. All of them have stupid hair, but one specifically looks exactly like Dick Keach from the Main Man commercial. Now, maybe I'm just imagining that, but he also has weird hair that doesn't match his beard. The story of the Temple of Divine Purity is that in the fall of 1978, a middle school psychologist, Sheldon Berryman, was woken up by aliens. Berryman, probably a reference to Michael Berryman, who played the cannibal in, or the patriarch of the cannibals in The Hills Have Eyes. But this alien who woke up Sheldon Berryman, he said the apocalypse was only 2 decades away and that he was being called upon to evacuate as many humans as possible from the planet before Armageddon. Sheldon quit his job the next day and started traveling in search of like-minded individuals. He changed his name to Ding, which the alien gave him. Ding believes that the precise location where the aliens will arrive is just outside of River Hill, so they're standing there waiting for the mothership to land. Ding kind of grabs the mic from Ivy and tells the audience that there's still time to join them for the evacuation. But Ivy's like, no, we can't really have more people on location.
It's very nice of her, though, I thought.
Ivy asks Ding if they should be worried about the broadcast intrusion that we just saw, but he says, no, we know those signals. Those are bursts of love and understanding. And she goes, Ding, what happens if the mothership doesn't arrive this evening? To which he says, Miss Sparks, be nice. And all of his followers repeat after him. That's number 7, by the way. Ding
Also,
says they've prepared for many moons, and the aliens will not let them down. Ivy says, well, I'll be right here with you, waiting patiently and watching the sky. But as she says sky, the lights go out above her, and she kind of sways dramatically like she's about to pass out or something. And she says, okay, we're going to get that fixed. We're going to find out what's up with our lighting. Ding says, I can sense their arrival. And she says, well, I can't wait to see your face when they arrive. Again, a little bit of a hint that, maybe they're going to pull some kind of prank. Yeah.
Yeah. If only she was a little more nice.
Then before we cut to commercial, we get another Reed Richmond segment. You may know him from Tarzan versus the Vampires or Space Wolf, the hit kids show.
Yeah.
Did you know that Hollywood heartthrob Blair Hoyle landed his first role as Will Scarlet in the 1966 Mexican horror flick Robin Hood Meets the Mummy? That's a true fact.
God, I would watch all three of those things that he was talking about just now.
So in our next commercial break, we get Gargasaur, a kaiju movie that's going to be on TV. Get ready for big screen thrills with special effects that'll blow your mind. The special effects are just like fire.gif. Didn't really look very good when the monster breathed fire.
Yeah, it was pretty good for VHS in the 90s, I guess.
We get an ad for Rocket, a beverage bombshell that won't crush the soul of the rebel inside. Pick up a 12-pack, cause adrenaline only lasts so long. We get our first anti-Rice ad. We're told that she has instated massive tax hikes, bloated budgets, wasteful White House healthcare schemes. Vote Dandridge because the stakes have never been higher.
I feel like there's puns in there, but I didn't actually identify any. Just that there should be some there.
Yeah, I mean, bloated budgets, I feel like vampires being bloated with too much blood is kind of a thing. And
That's fair.
the
You
stakes
said her
have
name was
never been
Rice?
higher. Yeah,
Oh, wait, yeah.
yeah, like
Right,
Anne
because they're all
Rice.
dressed like vampires. Ah, okay. It's the lack of visual cues.
We then get an ad for another scent. It's called Bouquet by Heaven Scent. The word
Hmm.
bouquet here is spelled correctly, but broken up by a random apostrophe.
Okay.
And the tagline for that is "Who says the greatest day of your life can't last forever?" Which means nothing.
Yeah, wait, what the fuck? Are these eternal flowers? Are they ghost flowers? Is there context?
We then get an ad for Out There Season 3, which will be premiering soon. We get stories from a haunted Scottish castle to a psychic dolphin, the Bermuda Triangle, and Bolivia's bizarre Festival of Skulls. We even found evidence that might hold the key to the lost city of Atlantis. So then we go back to the show. We get a expert analysis of the signal interruption that we saw before the break, or a couple breaks ago.
Hmm.
Noted author and ufologist Derek McBride, possibly a reference to Danny McBride. He is an author of the book Celestial Exodus, and he analyzes the frequency and he says it appears to be a declaration of war. The body language, the tone of the frequencies. And Tate Dawson says, but the temple believes that they're messages of love. And he says, there's no way they could have properly interpreted this. The message frequencies are beyond the limit of the human ear.
Then how'd he
So,
do it?
with computers, I guess.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm
He
sorry.
says, if our calculations are correct, the transmission is coming from 4 miles above McCleary Air Force Base. So then we get an explanation of Bromley, who was the mysterious chat room user who claimed that he worked at McCleary Air Force Base. He began working there in the winter of 1989 after a 2-year background check, which would have, I don't know, that 1989 is 2 years after the previous movie, if that means anything. He claims to have worked there for 5 years, where he saw marooned alien spacecraft, a refrigerator full of alien diseases, and a surgery center where scientists dissected alien cadavers. He says in 1994, the base's satellites began receiving transmissions from 6 different points across the galaxy, honing in on McCleary Air Force Base. In late 1994, the top officials started to fear that the secrets would get out, so they started firing everyone and paying them big money to keep their mouths shut. But Bromley here, he decided to take the money but squeal anyway. When a giant alien head is shown looking down at the Earth, overlaid at 50%, there's a dramatization disclaimer at the bottom of the screen, which I thought was pretty funny because, yeah, obviously.
I mean, that just implies that all the rest was real.
He says, I even saw data that suggests the exact date and time and place. The location is a few miles from McCleary Air Force Base, and the date, October 31st, 1996. And Tate Dawson says, does that scare you, Derek? And his simple reply is, yes. And Tate's like,
Poor Derek.
Well, what if I told you we're standing at one end of the landing radius that Bromley shared with us, and co-host Ivy Sparks is broadcasting from the other end? And he says, I would be concerned. And Tate says, Well, thank you, Derek, for sharing your analysis with us. Next, we talk more with the Temple of Divine Purity, who says there's still time. He grabs the mic from Ivy again, and she's really annoyed by this, and she goes, you know, Ding, maybe when they beam you up, they'll give you your very own show in space. And he says, Miss Sparks, you're going to feel very silly when the mothership arrives. And she goes, only because I missed the memo about the dress code, huh? Because what I forgot to mention about the Temple of Divine Purity is that they're all dressed like Goku.
Yes, they are. It's a little weird.
Which I guess kind of makes sense. You know, he's from space, and he's a savior of humanity.
And I guess that's also kind of timely.
Yeah,
the first Dragon Ball
1996.
should have been out by then. Yeah.
So then we go back to Reed Richmond because we're about to go back to break. And he says, you may know me from Banshee A Go-Go or Dr. Morbid's Monster Mall, which is an interactive CD-ROM game. He says, did you know that the 1988 horror film Bikini Mortuary was loosely based on the seminal Edgar Allan Poe story The Premature Burial? That's a true fact. And if you read those pages that I posted, they talk about Bikini Mortuary. That's one of the tapes you can get from Trader Tony.
Right. But also, this guy really is the best part of this program.
Yeah.
Everything he says is gold. And he does it in a straight face, too, which I don't know if I could do that. That's so impressive.
So here's another ad with a lot of details. We get a Nail Biters ad, which is a Goosebumps parody, written by B.A. Ghoul. Some of the titles that were shown. There's a mummy in my locker. Phantom of the Water Park. A werewolf ate my homework. In Little League with the Devil. Curse of the Headless Bus Driver. My dentist has fangs. Battle of the Banshees. Return to Camp Bigfoot. Grounded for time travel. Again. My first ghoul friend. Demon in the denim. The thing in the fridge. My freckles are alive. Frankenstein's leftovers. Step Mummy. And the special CD-ROM game coming soon, Escape from Zombie Zoo.
I'm so glad you noted all of these, because I tried real hard while it was going, and it wasn't to be.
Yeah.
But again, that's gold, all that.
Yeah, I would read all of those, and I would believe all of those are real Goosebumps books.
But... Oh, completely. Except maybe my first ghoul friend. That feels a little more Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah.
Like, as far as the degree of pun there.
The next ad is for a movie coming up called Forest Fire from Hollywood's hottest producer, Gabriel Creek. Every year, there are more than 100,000 wildfires in the United States. Now, I did not check that number, but that sounds a bit high, doesn't it?
No.
No? I mean, I guess the United States is a big-ass country, but 100,000 fire... Yeah. I guess...
it's a big-ass country full of woods.
Yeah. Well, I guess the thing about fires, too, is they kind of end up merging if they get close.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess it kind of depends on like how you count individual fires, but I mean, I won't.
Some are really
I'm not
small,
gonna...
you know, just like little fields and stuff. Like, can be really small fires.
Yeah, I mean, I would trust the experts here, and this guy is clearly an expert.
Yeah. So then our next commercial is for Gag City, which is kind of like Party City, I guess. Your Halloween headquarters. No tricks, just treats with prices you won't believe. Use internet keyword gag to find the closest store near you. So I assume that means like kind of like AOL keywords. You remember that?
Yes, I forgot that was even a thing until you just mentioned it.
Because I mean, if you go to a search engine in 1996 and type in the word gag, I don't know. You might
Well,
not
there were
find what you're
barely
looking
search
for.
engines back then.
True. There was like Alta Vista.
Yeah, but I mean, they weren't reliable. Like
Right.
mostly people were doing like web trees and stuff, or web rings, not trees, rings.
Yeah.
Good God.
Then we get a commercial for Essential Vibes. I was a little bit disappointed because this one does not have a bunch of fake song titles. It's just over 2 million, or sorry, over 200 multi platinum songs on 10 CDs. Get the first 8 volumes for just 1 cent, which is a real scheme that people used to pull all the time.
Oh, totally. I remember these videos, or I remember these commercials. They were all over the place.
I
Like
never did
usually with
any
like
of
smooth
those.
jazz and shit.
Yeah.
Uh
But wasn't the deal that like the first 8 were 1 cent each, but then the last one was like $50?
Not really. They just they were just generally overpriced, so you didn't feel it as much.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I feel like I dabbled in it, but I can't remember any specifics. Like, buy these CDs and then you end up with all these other nonsense things. But they just like keep sending you catalogs, really. It's just a scheme to get a catalog in your house.
Next up, we
They
have
used to do like good book clubs. Sorry, go ahead.
I believe this is the only video game commercial that we get out of this both movies. Noble Quest 4 Echo Realm, available now on the Trickster gaming console. He's battled banshees, he's defeated dragons, he's even conquered an army of ogres. Now Sir Wilfrid is back, and he's facing his most powerful opponent yet, himself. Kind of like Link, I guess, fighting Shadow Link.
Yeah. Also, just any number of those old like computer RPGs. You said that this was the only commercial, but they did mention several of like the CD-ROM adventure games, which I thought were kind of cool, and just other segments,
Yeah.
like in the True Facts segments that came up a couple times. And the final Goosebumps title was a CD-ROM adventure.
So back to the show, we're introduced to our special hidden camera segment. We're told that they are going to sneak hidden cameras into McCleary Air Force Base and record what's inside, which is illegal and dangerous. In fact, this is the first time that the executives at the ACE network are even hearing about what we're planning to do. They have 6 camera angles, people walking around. We see a bunch of soldiers walking across the tarmac, and Ivy says it certainly looks like they're preparing for something. One of the cameras goes down as they're discovered by the personnel inside the base. We don't really see much of note, except the last thing that we see is doctors operating on an alien cadaver in a hidden room behind a curtain. And the way the cameraman kind of like ducks down and slips through the door right behind someone without being noticed doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I almost feel like even the camera angle doesn't make sense, like it's been cut or something. Obviously, the whole thing
Well,
is fake and pre-recorded, but you know, a little
it's
detail
got
that
real
kind of
big
bugged me.
X-File energy.
Yeah, but yeah, we get to see the alien corpse being autopsied for a second, and Ivy talks it up as the most conclusive proof of alien life ever filmed. And eventually, the whole feed shuts off, and we go back to Tate, and he tells us that it's almost 10:55, and they're at like while he's talking, there's this massive green flash that passes by him, which is like pretty intense for like a live broadcast in the 90s to do that kind of a special effect, but whatever.
I mean, if it was a special effect.
So Ding, we cut back to Ivy and Ding, and he tries to grab the microphone for a third time to say that the arrival is at hand, and she goes, all right, Ding, well, let's not get too ahead of ourselves, okay? And there's no Reed Richmond spot this time. We just cut straight to commercial,
Yeah,
which
which is a little unfortunate because he's an amazing actor.
but it's like if you take it as live, then there's a reason that he's not there giving us
Yeah,
the fun
yeah, because it
fact,
was it was an unplanned break.
and because he's getting into costume.
Oh shit! I didn't catch that, but continue.
So we go to the commercials. We got Take Home Twisters, a VHS of tornado footage. 1-800-4-TWISTER with no E. I would have just made it 1-800-TWISTER with an E, but I guess that's why I'm not a creative director at an ad agency.
Hey, and you know what? It's possible that someone already took that one. I
Call
mean,
now and get a mini tornado flashlight with your order.
rad. Like, I don't know how that works, but I'm intrigued.
So then we
So
get
for me,
the
I actually caught like in that commercial. I don't know, you guys might not remember it, but there was a video game called Fatal Fury that came out in the '90s, and he actually said those words. He's like the fatal fury of a tornado, and it was
oh
like, I don't know, it like made me think of that video game randomly. Like, I don't know,
I think I
probably.
remember that. Yeah, it was like a side scroller brawler or something, right?
is a
Yeah, it was a
fighting game.
fighting. Yeah, it was just like a Street Fighter type of thing. Yeah, and
That
so
game
that might have been unintentional, but that's for me. It just like brought back memories. Yeah.
I do remember Fatal Fury. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like the fatal fury of a tornado, and I was like, wait, what? Yeah.
So then the next ad is for the show you were talking about, I believe, Nomad, the biker dude, coming
Yes, that was insane.
coming to Ace this November. His name's Austin Michaels, which I think of Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels, famous wrestlers
Yeah.
of the time. Framed for a crime he didn't commit, he is now hunting for the scum who murdered his family, serving up vigilante justice along the way. It did look like a very violent show, but
Right? But again, like there were so many of those like Xena and Hercules and 1,000 non-super mythological based ones.
yeah,
Highlander, which I mean there was a lot of killing in Highlander, but it was not like Snake Plissken level, you know?
right. So the next ad is for Mullins Light. So it's a beer, Mullins Light, and it's being presented by this mad scientist and his hunchbacked sidekick. And he says it tastes great, but doesn't leave you feeling like a deadbeat. And he says,
Ooh.
I've got a hunch this is our ticket out of Transylvania." And his sidekick says, "I've got a hunch too." Ugh. Next up, we get an
Whoa.
ad for the show Disturbance Call, which seems to be a parody of Cops. And the narrator says, "A deadly drug deal, an elderly overdose, a 10-year-old with a stolen car, and that's all before the first commercial break." Which almost seems like a joke about how many fucking ads are in this movie. Like, we get so much
But
information before the first commercial break.
but also that sounds pretty legit for an episode of Cops.
Yeah. Join Tampa's finest, Officers Lustig and Rifkin. I was going to look up Lustig. I think Rifkin might be a reference to serial killer Joel Rifkin, but I don't
It's a
know.
deep cut.
It could be anything. It could be someone in the movie business too. That's the end of the commercials there. We go back to the show and we get the actual landing of the UFO. We get footage that reminds me a lot of the McPherson tape. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but I was
Hmm.
definitely talking it up a while back. I wanted to make a video about it, but they've got this a similar kind of shot where obviously it's recorded on VHS, and they're looking at this spaceship out in the woods, and the lights are so bright you can't really see anything until the alien figure kind of walks down the ramp. He starts walking towards the camera, and there's this loud distortion noise, and the camera goes black, and there's static and distortion, and we briefly, very like you don't really get to see much of it unless you go frame by frame. You get to see Tate Dawson just kind of looking scared and then looking angry, like he's ready for a fight or something. And then it cuts black again, and we go to Ivy. And she announces that it's almost 9:55, and right on cue, we see a bright light overhead accompanied by a strange noise. And Ding says, "Our family have come to take us home. Let us prepare ourselves to be accepted into the cosmos." And him and all of his followers pull vials out of their robes, vials of poison, and they drink them. And Ivy doesn't see this at first because she's looking at the alien. And she goes, "Ding, are you seeing
Reasonable.
this?" And she turns around and sees them, drinking. And Ding says, "Father, we've prepared ourselves for you. Take us with you." And as Reed Richmond starts to take off his mask, we see Ivy nervously shaking her head, like, no, 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 don't do it. And he pulls off the mask and he says, "Happy Halloween, folks. It's me, cult movie star Reed Richmond." I just love his whole vibe of like, I am a big fucking star. You
He
know,
is.
I'm the king of B movies.
Hey, I'm Troy McClure. You may know me from. Like, yeah, he's great. I love him. I want to see more of him. He truly is a star. So, not to criticize the cultists, but so this is obviously like a Hail Bop. Um,
Heaven's Gate.
oh my God, I forgot. Thank you, Heaven's Gate cult, right?
Yeah.
So their whole deal is they were killing themselves to release their spirits so they could go up to the UFO who's just going to be cruising by on the comet.
Mm.
What is the point of killing themselves if the UFO is actually going to park and come and get them? Like, that just seems like an unnecessary step at that point.
Well, I guess maybe their
The
physical bodies
fools.
would not survive in the on the alien planets or whatever. So they preparing themselves to travel to somewhere where they can't be in their current form.
Why
But
have containment suits?
so the cult all kind of look at each other. They look devastated, and Ding goes, "Why would you do this?" And Ivy says, "It was just some Halloween." And then she's about to say prank, I think, but she's cut off as the first cultist begins to vomit uncontrollably. And then another, and then another. And Ding says, "They're still coming. Have faith. Have faith. My children, have faith." And Ivy stares at the camera. She's got this total shell-shocked look on her face before she just takes off her earpiece and runs.
Which, again, justifiable. Also, maybe if they're lucky, there actually is a UFO out there, and their spirits will rise up and meet it
we
for their
can
sakes.
we can only hope. And then we cut to Tate Dawson, and he goes, Out There will return for an all-new season this spring. Thanks for watch. Happy Halloween."
So why were they like? Why were the cult members vomiting anyway? Was it because of the poison? That's the only thing I
Yeah,
could think
yeah,
of.
they just drink like antifreeze or whatever, and their bodies were disintegrating.
Okay, just making sure because I wasn't sure if it was like just because they were like upset or something, or it was like I don't know.
So then after the show goes off the air, we get a little epilogue. We get a Happy Halloween message from Ace. We get half of an ad for a sleep aid product featuring the moon. The moon says, "If you're seeing a lot of me, that probably means you're having trouble sleeping." But then it cuts and we get Donna Miles telling us about the group suicide that happened on air. She says it's being investigated and everyone involved in the show might be facing charges, including conspiracy and manslaughter. The Ace Network has canceled Out There before the third season could air, which I'm like, that's fucked up, but at least that means there's a whole season of lost media out there for fans to look for in this universe.
I mean, I don't know. People were prudes back then. Like, because on one hand, you'd be like, this killer ratings, right? From the
Yeah.
publicity of it all.
And then we get like the back half of a news ad about the demolition of a church which uncovered skeletal remains dating back to the 80s. New forensic technology is being used to identify the corpses. Now, this isn't stated, but maybe you can connect the dots and think, okay, well, if Frank Stewart was killed by a Christian cult, maybe they hid his skeleton, hid his body in a church, and now that
Yeah,
church
no,
is being
I assume that's what that was referring to, yeah.
that was it. Then we cut to black, and the VHS is over. So good movie. I agree with you. I thought it was funnier, a lot funnier than WNUF Halloween Special. I think that the story was maybe a little more coherent or just more compelling. I really like this sequel. I loved it the first time I saw it, and I was smiling the entire time when we watched it last week. The one thing I will say is that maybe going frame by frame and squeezing out every references and making a list, not the best way to enjoy this kind of movie. But we do what we do for our fans.
I thought there was more variety in commercials too. Like the first one, it seemed to be big repeats.
it got boring, and that was part of like why they had the unseen viewer fast forwarding through some of that shit, which I noticed was
Yeah,
not, was not reused in this one. I wonder if they got like negative
gladly.
feedback about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it comes down to if it's something that you have to force a fast forward through. I mean, maybe it shouldn't be there in the first place.
Yeah.
Better editing. That's really it. This was much better edited than the first one.
Does anybody have any other closing thoughts about this movie, or should we wrap it up here?
If again, if you like this, I highly recommend what's the acronym? Saturday morning action, no, Saturday morning all-star hits, which again, a lot of the same stuff, and it's on Netflix, so real easy to see. It's less horror, more just messed up parody, but
Mm.
similar format.
Yeah, I definitely am. I dug the style, I dug the nostalgia, and I've been watching the VHS movies. Not entirely like as a related thing, but just like I remember liking the first couple of them, and I've seen all of them, but I've seen a lot of debate about whether they're good or not, and that is very debatable. But
Is there more than just the two?
there's like 6 or 7 of them, and there's a new one coming out soon.
Jeebus. All right. I'm definitely out of the loop on that.
Yeah, so I watched the first two, and I'm gonna watch all of them before I watch the new one, just to kind of review them and see how I feel about the series as a whole. But yeah, this Smash show definitely seems up my alley.
It's definitely what I thought about while watching these.
All right, well, thanks for showing up and participating in the discussion. See you guys later.
Toodles.